Hello. Good
Hello.
afternoon. Good
Yes,
morning to some of you. How are you?
I'm really good. It's been a
Good.
great 4-day weekend.
4 day. Oh yeah, because you got Thanksgiving on Thursday and then you got Friday off too.
We did. Yeah,
Nice.
I know. My
Very nice.
company's kind of stingy with the holidays, but they do give you the day after Thanksgiving, which is nice.
Yeah, that is nice.
Mm.
It seems like it should just be mandatory if you've got a holiday on a Thursday.
I I mean, I would think so too, but you'd be surprised.
Yeah, definitely. Canadian Thanksgiving is always on a Monday, so like it
Oh,
makes a little more sense because we don't have to go to work and then be off work and then go back to work. But
that is
yeah.
better.
Yes. Hello to the chat. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Hi, Tapeworman. Tapeworman.
I love
Lily. I know we do. It makes me laugh every time.
that.
Hi, Lily. Sophie, hello. Rosie, hello. Julie, hello. Um, yeah, this is a bit of an earlier time than I would normally stream if I did a weekend one, but I thought, why not? Just test out the waters, see how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
And thought we would read some Andrea Dworkin today and talk about her essay.
Classic.
And then, where things go, will go.
It's always the best part.
Okay, so hello, all. I'm going to share the essay here. So, how is the font size?
It looks good to me, but I am on a laptop, so any of the mobile chat peeps.
Yeah, sorry, chat peeps.
I don't know. I don't know if anybody's on their phone and give an indication as to whether it's for ants or not.
For answer. What is this? A stream for ants? Great. Hello, Sunny. Okay, yeah, so Andrea Dworkin wrote this essay in 1983 titled I Want a 24-Hour Truce During Which There Is No Rape.
Yeah.
Um, I found this on, I mean, it's in many places, but I just happen to have one that's hosted on the Vancouver Rape Relief website.
Mm.
Um, they're Canada's longest running rape crisis center. They also maintain a very strong women only mandate
Yeah.
services.
Weren't they the ones that got the rat nailed to their door?
Yes. So
Yeah.
because they are so dedicated and committed to their women only stance, yeah, they've been targeted by TRAs extremely. They've had, yeah, literally dead rats nailed to their door. Um, the city of Vancouver pulled a $30,000 grant from them because of their woman only stance.
Yep.
Anyway,
And
um,
weren't they the ones that got their GoFundMe canceled too? Or am I thinking of somebody else?
it wasn't them. I'm not sure
Mm.
who, but yeah, they um, basically, I think it was in the early to mid 2000s, there was a trans identified male who wanted to volunteer at the rape crisis shelter.
Nothing
And
suspicious about that.
right, like,
And
anyway,
nothing says a reasonable opponent like nailing an animal to your front door.
yeah. Um, but yeah, the VRR said no.
Yeah,
Like,
good.
it's women only. And the thing is like there are other programs like they do like outreach stuff and like self-defense stuff and whatever. They're not like it's just there are no males allowed in their rape crisis shelter. There are
Hmm.
other programs that they run that they're happily accepting of male volunteers if they want to be there. But the
Well,
rape crisis, go ahead.
as we already know, they need to infiltrate all spaces,
Yeah.
no matter how small. Like it's just like it is on Reddit, right? So there's like a million subreddits that men are allowed in, but if you have one tiny
Yep.
female only one, they must infiltrate or take it down.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter
Yeah.
if the whole world is catered to them. If there's like a tiny itty bitty space, they got to get in.
Yep, and that's the case with Vancouver Rape Relief. So that male, trans-identified male volunteer ended up taking them to like the Human Rights Tribunal over it, but they thankfully won. Their their case.
Mm.
And yeah, they maintain a women only mandate, and that's it. So if I'm a regular donor to them, just because they are like the Canada's only and longest running women only space.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if anyone's watching this and feels so inclined, you can donate on their website. But yeah, anyway,
Yes.
yes, and don't they commit to connecting Tim's? Don't they commit to connecting Tim's to mail support if they actually need it? Yes, they do. Like they're they also like they run like a crisis hotline and stuff. Like they're welcoming and open to anyone who needs assistance, but in their shelter, it's
Mm-hmm.
women only. And of course, that is not good enough for the TRA crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get
Yes.
into this essay.
There's a tangent.
Yes. So Andrea Dworkin wrote this in 1983. I want a 24-hour truce during which there is no rape. She writes, I have thought a great deal about how a feminist, like myself, addresses an audience primarily of political men who say they are anti-sexist. And I thought a lot about whether there should be a qualitative difference in the kind of speech I address to you. And then I found myself incapable of pretending that I really believe that the qualitative difference exists. I have watched the men's movement for many years. I am close with some of the people who participate in it. I can't come here as a friend, even though I might very much want to. What I would like to do is to scream. And in that scream, I would have the screams of the raped and the sobs of the battered. And even worse, in the center of that scream, I would have the deafening sound of women's silence, the silence into which we are born because we are women and in which most of us die.
Wow.
Said opening paragraph.
Yeah, it's a gut punch.
Yes. Okay. And please hop in if you have anything to say.
Oh, I will. You know I will.
Yeah, okay, good.
I'm not shy.
And if there would be a plea or a question or a human address in that scream, it would be this. Why are you so slow? Why are you so slow to understand the simplest things, not the complicated ideological things? You understand those. The simple things, the cliches, simply that women are human to precisely the degree and quality that you are.
Mm.
And also that we do not have time. We women, we don't have forever. Some of us don't have another week or another day to take time for you to discuss whatever it is that would enable you to go out into the streets and do something. We are very close to death. All women are. And we are very close to rape, and we are very close to beating. And we are inside a system of humiliation from which there is no escape for us. We use statistics not to try to quantify the injuries, but to convince the world that those injuries even exist. Those statistics are not abstractions. It is easy to say, the statistics, somebody writes them up one way and somebody writes them up another way. That's true, but I hear about the rapes one by one by one by one by one, which is also how they happen. Those statistics are not abstract to me. Every 3 minutes, a woman is being raped. Every 18 seconds, a woman is being beaten. There is nothing abstract about it. It is happening right now as I am speaking.
Yeah, and it's really disheartening because this was written in 83, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and this sort of thing is still happening online. You see it online all the time. Obviously, things have moved online now, but you will see feminists quoting the statistics. 98% of criminals are males.
Yeah.
And, if you break it down to the type of crime, it's still overwhelmingly male, like murders in the 90s,
Yeah.
like rape is like 98%, and it's male on female.
Yeah.
And even things like, aggravated assault, robbery, stuff like that,
Yeah.
still overwhelmingly male, right?
Mm-hmm.
But no matter how many times it's the Department of Justice. It's not like some feminist group doing the statistics. These are like real, actual law enforcement statistics.
Yeah.
Not that obviously I'm not saying the feminist group would be wrong, but it can't be dismissed as just being biased, right? Like
Right.
this is law enforcement stats, and
Yes.
they're still denied. You still get people arguing that Men and women are completely 100% equal in, all the crimes they
Mm.
commit and stuff like that. You get, I mean, and you get it from women's side too, like the lib fem side.
Yes,
They
definitely.
don't, yeah, they don't want to admit that. They don't want to admit that men are like exponentially physically stronger than women
Hmm.
and use that strength to their benefit. And like the opening of her essay here, she's trying to convince them we're human, but I think they purposely, willfully don't get that
Right.
because it benefits them not to. Like they know.
Yeah, if the lawmakers and whatever regarded women as equally human as they do men,
Yeah.
this would be tackled.
Yeah, they know, um, because a long time ago when I was more naive, I thought now I still blame religion for a lot of the misogyny. I think a lot of it's really baked into our society
Mhm.
from Abrahamic religion.
Yeah,
But when the atheist movement took off online like 20 years ago, those men, even though they eschewed all the religion, they didn't believe in the Bible, they still found a way to make women inferior
yeah,
using like mental gymnastics, right? So they want they don't want to see women as human because it benefits them not to. They get labor from women, they get a punching bag, they get all kinds of things, benefits from society of keeping women down.
yes, exactly. I just love that everybody thinks you and Lisa have the same voice.
I'm not
I
Lisa.
don't I don't think so, but maybe it's because I've
No.
heard both of your voices so much that
Yeah.
I don't
I
think
mean,
that
I think we sound different, but maybe we don't. I don't
that's
know.
so funny.
I don't know.
G. Smith Strathmore agrees with you.
Yeah, and then as a young, non-religious person getting into those things and feeling like, "Oh, maybe I've got, people who I can talk to about this," you realize that it's the same shit. It's they just they use different methods to keep women on the subordinate level, but it's the same as the Christian guys.
Yes.
Just different words. It's the same mentality, you know. Okay.
Yes.
That's why I
Um,
never got involved in that.
this is great from Tapeworman. I worry
Mm.
about trans identities causing an unfair change in the statistics. I worry Tim rapists will be considered women. Um,
Yeah, it's
well,
already happening though.
it's already happening because I have seen many headlines like woman arrested for sexual assault, and then you read the article and it's a Tim, it's a man, just like they're all men. Like,
Yeah. And isn't there a website called Not Our Crimes or something like that that keeps track of this stuff?
yes,
I feel like
yes, there is. Uh,
so there's enough of this stuff to make an entire website cataloging the misattribution uh, of male crimes to women.
yes, I agree. Yeah, messing up the stats. Yeah, like every time you
Yeah.
see a fucking headline that's like woman charged with blah blah blah, and then it's like no, a woman wasn't, and then you open the article and you're like, yep, I was right. It was a man this whole time.
Yeah, it's
Like,
come to the point now where if I see like, oh,
oh
woman
yeah,
arrested for indecent exposure, for sexual assault, for preying on children, for
oh,
some violent crime, I always assume it's a dude unless otherwise proven.
yeah, yeah. It's like, and then people will say like, well, women commit some of these crimes too, and it's like, I mean,
A
no, they
vanishingly small
really
percentage.
don't. You know what?
Yeah, not really.
99.1 of crime is committed by men. So like,
Right.
if you're saying point 0.9, like women don't do this shit.
No, and if you magically transported all men off the planet for a week, without hurting them, just you'd see this crime statistics just plummet, completely plummet.
Yes.
Um, and then when they all come back, you see that it returned to normal, right? So
Mhm.
you can't ever say never or always when it comes to the entirety of the human population. Yeah, you're probably going to have
Yeah,
some,
there's outliers.
right? There's murderers that are women and stuff like that, but it's such a vanishingly small percent. You
Yeah.
can't say it's equal. It's not. Not
It's
by
not even close to equal. And
no.
even when there are women who commit like a violent, quote unquote, violent crime, so often it's like in either self-defense or like she's been suffering under male violence for so long that she finally
Mhm.
took it into her own hands. It's like it's not the
Yeah,
same thing
right.
as that's not the same thing as a violent male crime. Like it's
Yeah,
just
or
not
she's like an accomplice to a
right.
primary male who,
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
and she goes along with it. But would she have hatched that brainchild herself without him? I
Probably
mean,
not.
unlikely.
Exactly.
I mean, you do there are women who do heinous things like that nurse in Britain who killed the babies, right? But like
Right.
it's just when you're talking about statistics and population wide phenomenon, you can't
Right.
put
The
women on the same.
outliers can't be
No.
like they don't contribute to the
Yeah,
statistics. It's on average, not the outliers. Ugh,
exactly.
anyway.
Sorry. Let's
No,
continue.
please. Okay. So there's nothing abstract about it. It is happening right now as I am speaking, and it is happening for a simple reason. There is nothing complex and difficult about the reason. Men are doing it because of the kind of power that men have over women. That power
Mm.
is real, concrete, exercised from one body to another body, exercised by someone who feels he has a right to exercise it, exercised in public and exercised in private. It is the sum and substance of women's oppression.
Yeah, exactly.
I think
Men
I,
operate on a hierarchical level and they think might makes right, and they think that because
yep,
they're stronger than women, they have the entitlement to own us.
yep. I think I have a
Mhm.
video titled "Abusive Men Like Abusing." Like
Yeah, I
they do it
commented on
because
that
they want
video.
to.
Yeah, they do. I
It's
think
not
I comment.
because they're repressed or they've got
No,
mental health
they
or
had a
whatever.
bad childhood. Meh.
Like,
No,
women are also depressed and had bad childhoods and have mental health issues.
right.
Men are violent because they want to be violent.
It gets them what they want. And after Dworkin, obviously made all these observations that the author of the book, Why Does He Do That? Lundy Bancroft, who is a man,
Yeah,
also cuts through the bullshit and says that abusive men do it because they like it, they want to, and it nets them benefits. There's so many myths around abuse and like that men just lose control, they lose their temper, they have anger issues, they have bad mental health. But notice how most abusive guys, most, can hold down a job, they can
yep.
have a social life.
They're not
A lot.
snapping on their boss at work and
Yeah,
punching the boss in the face.
I mean, yeah, sometimes you'll have those antisocial men who are in and out of jail. They can't do anything without punching people in the face. Okay, but the majority of the men who actually abuse women, it's a calculated, conscious thing that they do. And a lot of these guys will be the nice guy to everyone except her and the children. Like,
Hmm.
how do you explain that? How do you explain Mr. Superman that is like the hero of the community and behind closed doors, he's like that's on purpose.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I commented on your video something about like if I could just make women see like a lot of women are trained to try to like figure out why and like analyze his childhood and his psychology, to just accept the fact that they're doing it on purpose because they want to hurt you and they want to get the benefits from you, the benefits being your obedience and you catering to what they want.
Yes. Yes. Um, it is not done 5,000 miles away or 3,000 miles away. It is done here and it is done now, and it is done by the people in this room as well as by other contemporaries, our friends, our neighbors, people that we know. Women don't have to go to school to learn about power. We just have to be women, walking down the street or trying to get the housework done after having given one's body in marriage and then having no rights over it. The power exercised by men day to day in life is power that is institutionalized. It is protected by law. It is protected by religion and religious practice. It is protected by universities, which are strongholds of male supremacy. It is protected by a police force. It is protected by those whom Shelley called the unacknowledged legislators of the world, the poets, the artists. Against that power, we have silence.
Mm.
It is an extraordinary thing to try to understand and confront why it is that men believe, and men do believe, that they have the right to rape. Men may not believe it when asked. Everybody raise your hand who believes you have the right to rape. Not too many hands will go up.
Yeah.
It's in life that men believe they have the right to forced sex, which they don't call rape. And it is an extraordinary thing to try to understand that men really believe that they have the right to hit and to hurt. And it is an equally extraordinary thing to try to understand that men really believe that they have the right to buy a woman's body for the purpose of having sex, that that is a right. And it is very amazing to try to understand that men believe that the $7 billion a year industry that provides men with cunts is something that men have a right to.
Mm-hmm.
Keep in mind,
Yeah,
this
it
is
was
41 years ago. The industry is certainly extremely more than that.
absolutely, yeah, 7 billion. I'm like, oh, how quaint. Because nowadays it's probably like many times that. But yeah, it's funny because sometime after this, I forget when this was, after Andrea's time, I'm pretty sure, but they did a survey of college age guys.
Yes, I
And
know what you're talking
yeah,
about.
you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yep.
Where if they use the word rape, the guy will
Always say
deny.
no.
Yes, he'll deny that he does that. But if they describe behaviors consistent with rape, including coercive
Yeah.
rape, the number shoots way up in what they think that is acceptable to do. Like that,
Yeah, they might ask, like, have you ever made someone have sex with you? And
yeah,
men will straight up admit to it plenty. If
right.
you say, have you ever raped someone, they'll say no. But if you phrase it slightly differently, they'll completely admit to it. And it's common.
Yeah, yeah, or even like badgering women,
Yes.
emotionally manipulating them by having tantrums or stomping around or acting like you're devastated or hurt and she has to comfort you. Like all of these tactics to coerce women, it's all on the spectrum of sexual assault. Like she doesn't want to do it, guy.
Yeah.
And you're like throwing out the entire arsenal to get her to give up her resistance. And it's disgusting.
I found the study. A
Oh,
recent study found that nearly 32% of college males participants said they would, quote, force a woman to have sexual intercourse. When asked if they would rape a woman, that number dwindled to 14%. But it's the same
yeah.
thing.
Yeah, you just can't use the R word, right?
Yeah,
And it goes hand in hand with the myth about rapists and other predators that
of
both men
course.
and women believe. It's called like the rapist in the bushes. Like they think that a rapist has to look a certain way. He's got to look like a monster out of a movie, a disheveled homeless man with murder in his eyes, hopping out of the bushes or from behind a dumpster and attacking a random woman. And that's how they characterize it. It's like, oh, Steve is just a normal guy. He's a dad. He lives down the street. He can't be a rapist. He's not he's not literally insane squatting in a ditch somewhere waiting to attack a woman walking by. But
Yeah.
that's the thing. The men who do this sort of thing are just it's guys you talk to every single day, guys you work with, guys
Yes,
in your family.
exactly.
Hmm.
I just want to,
Comments are
yeah, I know. I
they're
just want to look at
like
some.
going a mile a minute.
Okay, Rosie says, I feel like it's temptation, right? When you are stronger, you have to consciously choose to not use that strength over people, especially when it goes unpunished.
I mean, I
Like when
guess, but
kids, psychopath bully animals.
yeah, but that's the thing. We can recognize when a kid like kills animals that it's a serious
Yeah.
problem. And most women are stronger physically. Like I'm physically stronger than a baby, but I'm not gonna hurt it because I can. Like that's
Good point.
monstrous,
Good.
Like, and most, even men, like most of the time, I know child abuse exists, and I'm not naive or anything, but the general consensus is like if a grown man punches out like an 11-year-old boy, people are going to see him for the unsporting bully that he is. Like
Yeah.
he's not like, oh, you punched out an 11-year-old big man, right? But he can punch a woman who's like 5 foot nothing, 100 pounds, and people cheer.
Yeah. Why is my phone ringing? Sorry.
Ooh, I can't hear it, just FYI.
Okay. Yeah. Sunny says, I don't think men care. They cannot tell apart rape, sex, and rape. The only reason they do is to not scare away potential women. Do you think men can't tell the difference between sex and rape, or they just don't care?
I think they don't care. And a lot of it is like a spectrum. Like, they mentally justify what they do because of the rapist in the bushes myth. They think, well,
Yeah.
I'm not a literal monster out of a Lifetime movie, so I'm not a rapist. But they'll
Right.
coerce, they'll badger, they'll manipulate,
Mhm.
or they'll like block her exit with his body. They'll keep touching her when she doesn't want to be touched.
Yeah.
All these and they won't
And
because
also, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say the ends justify the means for them. Like, when she finally lets down the resistance and says a begrudging yes, they just take that as a full yes.
Right, exactly. And also, I read a thing one time that like said like it was like a study again about attitudes towards sex and that kind of thing. And like I don't know, a lot of men think of sex as something they do to women.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a shared experience desired by two parties.
Or it's like a token that a woman gives up, like, puts in
Right.
his hand. Like, "Oh, I want your token. Give it
Yeah.
to me." You know? Which is crazy.
Yeah. All right. That is the way the power of men is manifest in real life. That is what theory That is what theory about male supremacy means. It means you can rape. It means you can hit. It means you can hurt. It means you can buy and sell women. It means that there is a class of people there to provide you with what you need. You stay richer than they are so that they have to sell you sex. Not just on street corners, but in the workplace. That's another right that you can presume to have. Sexual access to any woman in your environment when you want. Now, the men's movement suggests that men don't want that kind of power I have just described. I've
Mm,
actually heard explicit whole sentences to that effect. And yet, everything is a reason not to do something about changing the fact that you do have that power.
yeah, that's the thing. Like, how many times have we heard stories of just, like, quote, unquote, "good guys"? Maybe they don't coerce women or rape anyone or hit anybody, but they also don't believe stories. Like, they take the neutral road. They don't condemn their friends who are clear creeps and harassers. Like, they just they don't do anything,
Hmm.
and that maintains the status quo too. Like, just because you yourself, but keeping creepy Steve around in the friend group, I mean, that's inaction is an action, right?
Absolutely.
And when you don't believe your female friends in the group, when they all tell you stories and you're just like, nah, nah, you must be imagining it, silly women and their
I've never seen
hysteria.
him be like that. Of
Right. Oh, he's totally
course, you
cool with me.
haven't. Men are
Right.
different people to different people.
And especially to men
Yes,
versus
exactly.
women, they want to coerce into giving them the token.
Yep. Hiding behind guilt, that's my favorite. I love that one. Oh, it's horrible. Yes, and I'm so sorry. You have the time to feel guilty. We don't have the time for you to feel guilty. Your guilt is a form of acquiescence in what continues to occur. Your guilt helps keep things the way they are. I have heard in the last several years a great deal about the suffering of men over sexism. Of course, I have heard a great deal about the suffering of men all my life. Needless to say, I have read Hamlet. I have read King Lear. I am an educated woman. I know that men suffer. This is a new wrinkle, implicit in the idea that this is a different kind of suffering, is the claim, I think, that in part you are actually suffering because of something that you know happens to someone else. That would indeed be new. But mostly your guilt, your suffering, reduces to, gee, we really feel so bad. Everything makes men feel so bad. what you do, what you don't do, what you want to do, what you don't want to do, but are going to do anyway. I think most of your distress is, gee, we really feel so bad. And I'm sorry that you feel so bad, so uselessly and stupidly bad, because there is a way in which this really is your tragedy. And I don't mean because you can't cry, and I don't mean because there's no real intimacy in your lives, and I don't mean because the armor that you have to live with as men is stultifying. And I don't doubt that it is. But I don't mean any of that.
Mm.
Mm. I mean that there is a relationship between the way that women are raped and your socialization to rape and the war machine that grinds you up and spits you out. The war machine that you go through, just like that woman went through Larry Flint's meat grinder on the cover of Hustler. You damn well better believe that you're involved in this tragedy and that it's your tragedy too. Because you're turned into because you're turned into little soldier boys from the day that you are born, and everything that you learn about how to avoid the humanity of women becomes part of the militarism of your country in which you live and the world in which you live. It is also part of the economy that you frequently claim to protest. I love her. She does not give a fuck.
No, I love her too. I love it.
And the problem is that you think it's out there, and it's not out there. It's in you. The pimps and the warmongers speak for you. Rape and war are not so different. And what the pimps and the warmongers do is that they make you so proud of being men who can get it up and give it hard. And they take that acculturated sexuality and they put you in little uniforms and they send you out to kill and to die. Now, I am not going to suggest to you that I think that's more important than what you do to women, because I don't. But if you think that if you want to look at what the system does to you, then that is where you should start looking. The sexual politics of aggression, the sexual politics of militarism. I think that men are very afraid of other men. That is something that you sometimes try to address in your small groups, as if you changed your attitudes towards each other, you wouldn't be so afraid of each other.
Yeah. You know, there's the common phrase, like, if men know what consent is, because if they actually imagine like a much bigger, larger guy
Yeah.
trying to force himself on him,
Yeah, they'd freak the fuck out.
of course they would. And if they tried to, you know, not to be like crass or anything, but if that big man tried to penetrate them, they know damn well what that, you know, that's a violation, even though guys try to pretend that rape is just bad sex that women regret.
Yeah.
And it's not traumatic, you know,
Yeah.
but they know if they've got this giant, like a giant guy
Yeah.
trying to force himself on him. Yeah.
Yeah. But as long as your sexuality has to do with aggression and your sense of entitlement to humanity has to do with being superior to other people, and there's so much contempt and hostility in your attitudes towards women and children, how could you not be afraid of each other? I think that you rightly perceive, without being willing to face it politically, that men are very dangerous, because you are.
Yes, that's a very good point. They don't want to admit it politically or usually in public forums, but they will in private. I mean, how many of us have male family members that
Yeah.
were like,
I
men
wouldn't
are
trust him around my daughter, or I wouldn't let my
right?
daughter go around. Yeah, of
Or
course.
they say things that women online who get accused of misandry say
Yes.
to other women. Like,
Yes.
these women will tell other women, like, no, men, you know, men do this, men do that, these are the signs of abuse, these are the signs he's using you. And she says it and it's misandry, but dad says it, uncle says it, and it's just man speaking the truth about men, right?
Yeah. Or he's being so good and protective.
Right.
Ugh.
And yeah, I mean, I kind of wish I'd listened to some of that stuff when I was younger, but being
Sure.
like a lib fem back in the day, you know,
Yeah.
coming of age in the 2000s, it was kind of, it sounded chauvinistic, but honestly, a lot of it was true.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of men do have a very transactional, sexually based focus on relationships. They do have a very hierarchical way of thinking, in that if you're in a relationship with them, they want you on the bottom and them on the top, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Very common.
Very common. Who exactly do women need protection
Oh yeah,
from? Right.
exactly.
Like, they all know that their daughters and their wives need protecting. But
Yeah.
from whom?
From who?
No one's willing to
And
say that.
notice how they don't get precious about, oh, how dare you lump me in with all men when they're saying that stuff to their daughters. Like they don't, because they know they only use that as a tactic, like online or towards feminists, to get us
Mhm.
to shut up about the overwhelming disparity of violence that males versus females inflict. Like it's a tactic. They're like, oh, how dare you, we're not all like, not all men,
Yes, exactly.
you can't generalize. Yeah.
This is good from Rat Cake Mix. Men love to call themselves protectors, but they are predators first and watchers at best.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was
Good
saying
one.
before. Like a lot
Mhm.
of them they'll just watch. They might not participate, but they won't do anything either.
Yeah. The solution of the men's movement to make men less dangerous to each other by changing the way you touch and feel each other is not a solution. It's a recreational break. These conferences are also concerned with homophobia. Homophobia is very important. It is very important to the way male supremacy works. In my opinion, the prohibitions against male homosexuality exist in order to protect male power. Do it to her. Keep in mind those were written in the 80s.
Yeah.
So might not be super relevant today as far as like prohibitions kind of thing. But anyway,
Right, right. Because I don't think there's like sodomy laws in the books really
no.
anymore. No.
Correct. Yeah. That is to say, as long as men rape, it is very important that men be directed to rape women. As long as sex is full of hostility and expresses both power over and contempt for the other person, it is very important that men not be declassed, stigmatized as female, used similarly. The power of men as a class depends on keeping men sexually inviolate and women sexually used by men. Homophobia helps maintain that class power. It also helps keep you as individuals safe from each other, safe from rape. If you want to do something about homophobia, you are going to have to do something about the fact that men rape, and that forced sex is not incidental to male sexuality, but is in practice paradigmatic.
Yeah, this makes me think of two things. First, the Madonna whore complex.
Yes.
So, a lot of, especially conservative men, although most men have this complex, unfortunately, they want to keep an underclass of women, the quote unquote whores, for use by men and as like damage sponges.
Yes.
And then they'll have the quote unquote Madonnas for the mothers and the wives and stuff like that, which they're still being used.
Yeah,
But it's really disgusting. It's a mentality that I still see today all the time. And secondly, I think homophobia has roots in misogyny. I know
of
people
course.
disagree with me, but the whole reason that gay men are maligned like that is because they're behaving quote unquote like a woman.
Right. Like the
Es-
woman's role.
Right, especially like when you consider a lot of the vitriol is reserved for the bottom men.
Yeah. More
Yeah,
effeminate men, etc. Yes.
right, more effeminate, the ones that receive and all that stuff. It's like, oh, how dare you debase yourself by being a woman? Like,
Yeah.
what worse thing could you possibly be as a man?
It was the same in like ancient Greek culture
Oh,
too. Like it
I
was
was
totally
just
fine
thinking of
to
that.
have sex with men as long as you were the top.
Right.
Like the receptive men were
Mm-hmm.
lowest of the low.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And you weren't considered gay or doing anything gay if you were the top, but if you were the bottom, you were.
Yes,
Which is
exactly.
bizarre to me because it's all
I
gay. I mean,
agree.
you're having sex with another man. Like, there's
Yes.
literally nothing gayer than that. But okay.
Yeah.
It's like mental gymnastics to kind of preserve their manhood, I guess.
Well, and it goes back to what we mentioned earlier about like men think of sex as something that is done to another person,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So
That's true.
like
So he
if you're
has
the
since,
go ahead.
sorry.
No, no.
I'm like verbal spewing, but like, I totally lost my train of thought. So you go. Bam.
Yeah, so like sex, they think of sex as something done to another person. So if you're the one who is having that done to you, either you're a female
Mm,
who has sex with men or you're a male who is has the receptive role in sex, like that's it's not masculine to them. It's degrading to them because it's an act that is done to someone. So if you're on the receiving end of that act, it's not it's not
Yeah,
acceptable.
that's right. And it's why men consider the fact that if they have sex with a woman, she's now dirty, she's now impure,
Yeah,
because he's done that to her. It wasn't a
right.
mutual act that they both participated in or that she could possibly enjoy because he's so concerned
Yeah.
with the masculinity, the hierarchy, the the dirtiness of it,
Yes. Good
which
one.
is a twisted mind fuck way to think about intimacy.
Yeah.
Oh, and the other thing about ancient Greece, they were very misogynistic.
Oh yeah.
Like even way more so because they thought women were only for children. Like
Yes.
they said things like real love is between men,
Yeah.
and the only reason you would ever debase yourself by having sex with a woman is if you wanted a baby.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can't actually love a woman. That's
Mhm.
basically what they've said in their writings and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Because we were like cattle, we were like animals in the
Yeah, I
household.
mean, even like something as simple as names, like women were not given
Hmm.
their own names in
No, it
ancient
was like
Greece.
Julia 1, Julia 2, Julia
Exactly.
3.
And their father
After
was Julius, right? So
right,
it was
right.
literally one, two, three, etc. Like, ugh.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Plato or Aristotle said women were imperfect men. Yeah.
Yeah, that's been the like the philosophy spanning all kinds of culture. Confucius said the
Yes.
same kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Different cultures considered women as like imperfect, or we're like missing a
Yeah.
penis rather than them.
Hmm.
It's like it's only in relation to what a man is. It's not like, oh, something's wrong with men because they don't have a uterus or a vagina, they have this weird penis. Like, no, it's always like, oh, you have a lack of like, I think, I forget which culture it was, but one of their, oh, it wasn't, it was like Elizabethan England. They used to call a woman's vagina nothing. Like
Yeah.
that was the slang for it. Nothing. Because like, what in relation are we talking about? The nothing, the something, which is the penis, right? So the
Yes.
nothing, it's not nothing down there. There's like a whole other reproductive system down there. But
Yep.
because they don't have a penis, it's like, oh, it's like a void. It's nothing.
Yep. Mm.
Mm.
Good one. Some of you are very concerned about the rise of the right in this country, as if that is something separate from the issue of feminism or the men's movement. There is a cartoon I saw that brought it all together nicely. It was a big picture of Ronald Reagan as a cowboy with a big hat and a gun, and it said, "A gun in every holster, a pregnant woman in every home. Make America a man again." Those are the politics of the right.
Might I remind everyone, this was done 41 years ago, and it's so weird because it could totally be relevant in now Trump's
Today,
America.
Trump's America. Exactly. Oh my God. A
How
pregnant woman in
prescient.
every home.
Yeah, make America a man again, make America great again. Hello.
Ugh.
Nothing
Ugh.
nothing's changed. And
No.
it's funny, the rise of the right, although people are still talking about the rise of the right today.
Today.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, same shit, different decade, but it's all the same.
Yeah.
If you are afraid of the ascendancy of fascism in this country, also
Oh,
relevant today,
so fucking relevant. Oh, Andrea.
and you would be very foolish not to be right now in 1983 or 2024,
Right.
then you had better understand that the root issue here has to do with male supremacy and the control of women, sexual access to women, the legalization of quote unquote sex work, women as reproductive slaves, the illegalization of abortion and reproductive care, private ownership of women. That is
Yeah.
the program of the right. That is the morality they talk about. That is what they mean. That is what they want. And the only opposition to them that matters is an opposition to men owning women.
Yeah.
2024 or 1983, you pick.
Right. Mind blowing. Totally mind-blowing. The only thing that gives me even a modicum of hope
Yeah.
is that the 80s was a decade of a lot of backlash, a lot like we're seeing today, a
Mm.
lot of backlash to feminism. But it was also followed by the 90s, which I think were pretty open as far as that goes, like pretty chill.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm really hoping that after this kind of narcissistic extinction burst that a lot of these right-wing guys are doing right now, as can be seen online, and with the whole Trump thing, I'm hoping that after this, we may hopefully come to a period where the backlash will ease up and we'll enter into a newer era. I mean, that's just my hope talking based on history.
Yeah.
But it does seem like with every backlash that happens, it just gets worse and worse each time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Mm-hmm.
what's, because like back in the 80s, obviously I don't have access to every record that happened back then, but there wasn't the same kind of like street violence or insult based violence.
Right.
And even though the backlash was in full swing, it was more like, the religious right, respectability, politics, the media, tried to kind of put women back in the kitchen and as housewives and stuff. You saw that in the roles on TV, and uh, it wasn't as violent, but now the backlash is pretty bad. So I don't
Yes.
know. I'm of two minds. I'm hoping that maybe it will usher in an era beyond the backlash that's better, but I don't know.
I would, yeah, let's all cross our fingers.
Hmm.
What's involved in doing something about all of this? The men's movement seems to stay stuck on 2 points. The first is that men don't really feel very good about themselves. How could you? The second is that men come to me or to other feminists and say, "What you're saying about men isn't true. It isn't true of me. I don't feel that way. I'm opposed to all of this." And I say, "Don't tell me. Tell the pornographers, tell the pimps, tell the war makers, tell the rape apologists and the rape celebrationists and the pro rape ideologues. Tell the novelists who think that rape is wonderful. Tell Larry Flint. Tell Hugh Hefner. There's no point in telling me. I'm only a woman. There's nothing I can do about it. These men presume to speak for you. They are in the public arena saying that they represent you. If they don't, then you would better let them know."
Yeah, I've seen that this particular paragraph quoted
Yeah,
separately.
yeah. And an insert like, tell Andrew Tate, tell Elon
Hmm.
Musk. Like
Right. And it's
that.
disheartening as a sorry,
No,
I've
please
got so
go.
many thoughts.
Please go.
Um, it's disheartening as a woman because you hear these random dudes say stuff like that,
Yeah.
right? And yet Tate is so disgustingly popular. And
Yes.
they're, and kids in school are quoting him and like telling girls, "Your body, my choice." Like, okay, you're saying that most men are like you and don't believe in this, but I'm not seeing the numbers back you up, dude. I'm not
Right.
seeing it. If you really are some virtuous outlier, you really are an outlier. Because you'd think that if, sorry, I
Oh,
coughed.
poor cold.
I know it's so annoying. I'm just gonna pop a cough drop. Sorry.
Go for it.
But like, if these, if this ideology, these rapist ideologies, were so odious to most men,
Yeah.
why would they be so popular on social media? Why would they be taking the youth by storm?
Right.
Why?
Yeah, like the Andrew Tates, the Ben Shapiros.
Mm.
I'm
Hmm.
trying to think that Nick one, the Your Body, My Choice one, that guy. Um,
Nick Fuentes.
Nick Fuentes, yeah, him. Jordan Peterson. Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah, great minds think alike, Nessa.
Yeah, Jordan Peterson's like the mild mannered gateway into this kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
The way he talks is very. Um, he talks out of both
Insidious.
sides of his mouth.
Yes. Yep.
But yeah, it doesn't add up. So to me as a woman, it just seems like men are bullshitting us.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
completely.
and trying to like get the guard down and be like, no, I'm actually not like that. I'm like a really good guy. It's like,
Okay,
really?
good for you. What about your brother? What about your
Right.
neighbor? What about the guy you work with? What
What
about
about,
like,
right. What about your son falling down the
yes,
YouTube pipeline? You know,
exactly.
the Tate pipeline. Like, what about all that? What about the incel violence and the congregations online of these people spreading very violent, murderous ideology?
Mhm.
What about that?
Yeah. But not me. That's
Not
all they
me.
care about. That's all they care about.
It's like it's a smoke screen to me.
Yeah.
It's like a lulling lie, like a soothing lie that they're trying to get women to believe, but the numbers don't bear it out.
Mhm. Then there's the private world of misogyny. What you know about each other, what you say in private life, the exploitation that you see in the private sphere, the relationships called love based on exploitation. It's not enough to find some traveling feminist on the road and go up to her and say, gee, I hate it. Say it to your friends who are doing it. And there are streets out there on which you can say these things loud and dear so as to affect the actual institutions that maintain these abuses. You don't like pornography? I wish I could believe it's true. I will believe it when I see you on the streets. I will believe it when I see an organized political opposition. I will believe it when pimps go out of business because there are no more male consumers.
Mm-hmm. And
You
that
want
kind of
to,
ties. Sorry, it ties into the thing we did about the young girls on social media.
yeah,
Like, who's buying all these?
right.
Who's clicking? Who's leaving the comments? It's lucrative for these girls to do that.
Yeah,
They get the attention, they get the the advertising money and whatnot.
yep.
If they didn't, it wouldn't exist.
Exactly. There would be there would be no supply without the demand.
Right. And yet the suppliers are the only ones blamed.
Yes, great point.
Hmm.
Exactly. You want to organize men. You don't have to search for issues. The issues are part of the fabric of your everyday lives. I want to talk to you about equality, what equality is and what it means. It isn't just an idea. It's not some insipid word that ends up being bullshit. It doesn't have anything at all to do with all of those statements like, ooh, that happens to men too. I name an abuse and I hear, ooh, it happens to men too. That is not the equality we are struggling for. We could change our strategy and say, well, okay, we want equality. We'll stick something up the ass of every man we'll stick something up the ass of a man every 3 minutes. Yeah, that would
Well,
be equality, right?
I, yeah, but it's funny because a lot of anti-feminist dudes will say stuff like that. They'll be like, "Oh, what you want a matriarchy so that you'll rule over us and do the same things that we do to you." Like they're terrified of
Right.
it.
They can't imagine a system in which there's not like like one group in violent power and oppressing
Right.
another group. They
They
cannot
just
even imagine.
yeah, they just think it'll be flip-flopped
Right.
and that women are even interested in doing that. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a funny sentence, but like it's not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. You've never heard that from the feminist movement because for us, equality has real dignity and importance. It's not some dumb word that can be twisted and made to look stupid as if it had no real meaning. As a way of practicing equality, some vague idea about giving up power is useless. Some men have vague thoughts about a future in which men are going to give up power or an individual man is going to give up some kind of privilege that he has. That's not what equality means either. Equality is a practice, it is an action, it is a way of life, it is a social practice, it is an economic practice, it is a sexual practice. It can't exist in a vacuum. You can't have it in your home if, when the people leave the home, he is in a world of his supremacy based on the existence of his cock, and she is in a world of humiliation and degradation because she is perceived to be inferior and because her sexuality is a curse. This is not to say that the attempt to practice equality in the home doesn't matter. It matters, but it is not enough. If you love equality, if you believe in it, if it is the way you want to live, not just men and women together in a home, but men and men together in a home and women together in a home, if equality is what you want and what you care about, then you have to fight for the institutions that will make it socially real.
Hmm.
It is not just a matter of your attitude. You can't think it and make it exist. You can't try sometimes when it works to your advantage and throw it out the rest of the time. Equality is a discipline. It is a way of life. It is a political necessity to create equality in institutions. And another thing about equality is that it cannot coexist with rape. It cannot. And it cannot coexist with pornography or with prostitution or with the economic degradation of women on any level in any way. It cannot coexist because implicit in all those things is the inferiority of women.
Right, exactly. And this is why it's never about individual men, it's about class analysis. Because
Mm-hmm.
one man not patronizing pornography is great.
Yeah,
But what if a critical mass of them stop doing it?
right.
That would enact real change,
Mm-hmm.
right? So yeah, it's all well and good if you do walk the talk, that's great. But a critical mass is needed.
Exactly. Exactly. I want to see this men's movement make a commitment to ending rape because that is the only meaningful commitment to equality. It is astonishing that in all our worlds of feminism and anti sexism, we never talk seriously about ending rape. Ending it, stopping it. No more. No more rape. In the back of our minds, are we holding on to its inevitability as the last preserve of the biological? Do we think that it is always going to exist no matter what we do? All of our political actions are lies if we don't make a commitment to ending the practice of rape? This commitment has to be political. It has to be serious. It has to be systematic. It has to be public. It can't be self indulgent. I think Leah Taverley said in a video one time um, that we've got something like 120,000 years of evolution and we've never evolved past males raping females.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
yeah.
why I tend to think that there's a biological component
Mm,
to the phenomenon.
yeah. Which, of course, I know you don't mean it, but like it's not to say that it's
No,
excusable.
no,
Like,
it's not excusable, and it doesn't
mhm,
mean it's destiny. It
right.
just means that it's something in the human animal that
Hmm.
needs to not be indulged or, you know, it yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I like this point that Ice Goddess made about pornography. When you talk about
Mm.
how harmful porn is and all you get is it's a fantasy. Like, no, it's not. That's a real woman in that video. That's a
Right.
real woman being
Yeah.
harmed.
Yeah,
It's
I
not a
know.
fantasy. She's
It's
real.
so ridiculous because I actually made a comment ages ago on Reddit about that, where they say it's a fantasy, and it's like, no, like a sex scene in a movie, that's fantasy
Right.
because they have like genital shields. They
Yeah, they
use
have an
camera,
intimacy coordinator.
right? Like there's a whole set of people, and they use camera tricks and stuff
There's
like
checks
that.
and balances
It usually, and I know some
usually.
films try to be edgy and whatever, but 99% of the time, there is no actual penis going in a vagina. There's no actual sex happening. It's all movie magic. It's camera tricks.
Yes.
Um, that's not the case for pornography. Like it's literally happening as you see it.
Yes.
It's not a
Like
camera trick.
to be like I mean, sometimes you have to be vulgar to be real, but like that's a real woman being spat on or being
Yes,
slapped in the face. Like that
called
man's
a
hand is actually connecting with her face. Like,
right, and called a like slut whore, all those
right.
terrible names. Like it's really, really happening.
Yes.
And being made to like cry and vomit and stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
disgusting.
It's so fucking
There's
sick.
nothing fantastical or fake
No.
about that. Mm-mm.
The things the men's movement has wanted are the things worth having. Intimacy is worth having. Tenderness is worth having. Cooperation is worth having. A real emotional life is worth having. But you can't have them in a world with rape. Ending homophobia is worth doing, but you can't do it in a world with rape. Rape stands in the way of each and every one of those things you say you want. And by rape, you know what I mean. A judge does not have to walk into this room and say that, according to statute such and such, these are the elements of proof. We're talking about any kind of coerced sex, including sex coerced by poverty.
Yeah.
You can't have equality or tenderness or intimacy as long as there is rape, because rape means terror. It means that part of the population lives in a state of terror and pretends, to please and pacify you, that it doesn't. So there is no honesty. How can there be? Can you imagine what it is like to live as a woman day in and day out with the threat of rape? Or what it is like to live with the reality? I want
Yeah.
to see you use those legendary bodies and that legendary strength and that legendary courage and the tenderness that you say you have on behalf of women. And that means against the rapists, against the pimps, and against the pornographers. It means something more than a personal renunciation. It means a systematic, political, active, public attack. And there has been very little of that.
Yeah, because of two reasons. You can't love and be intimate with somebody that you don't really see as 100% human like yourself.
Mm,
You might, so a lot of normie dudes out there, you ask them point blank, like, are women human? They're going to be like, of course. Like, what kind of question is that? But in most relationships, a man is going to prioritize his judgment and viewpoint over his wife's. Like
right.
he's thought of as like the arbiter. His conclusions and his judgments are thought of as rational and sound, and hers are thought of as emotional and irrational.
Mm,
If there's a choice to be made between somebody's career or life, his is going to get priority over hers.
yeah.
That's the kind of thing. Like it's a very subtle, sometimes subtle, not all the time. Sometimes it's overt, but it's a subtle acknowledgement that of course the man is going to be more prioritized. He's
Yeah.
more of a full person. Like she's just the co-star, like the NPC character in his
Yep.
life. And that's the kind of thing. And then the second thing is that a lot of guys actually get off on rape and coercion. So
Right.
you're asking them to stop rape, but that's what turns these guys cranks.
Right. They do it because they want to.
Right. Like most, if you really press them, I mean, they might do mental gymnastics to not characterize themselves as a capital R rapist or whatever.
Right.
But most of the time, they know. They know. I mean, I've seen lots of stories online where a woman will actually get a text message from a guy who coerced her.
Yeah.
And he'll be like, I'm really sorry about what happened last night. I'd like to see you again, blah, blah, blah. They know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy, right? Like, they know what they did, and they're trying to spin it like it's not as bad.
As Sweet D just pointed out right here.
Mhm.
It's clear that a lot of men don't really think rape is that bad. Or, yes, they don't think it's that bad because I also, when that story came out about when Cardi B used to work as a stripper and she would drug men and rob them
Mhm.
who like paid her for private lap dances or whatever.
Yep.
And people would be like, that's just the same as rape. Like, why isn't Cardi B on trial for rape? And it's
What?
like, she didn't rape anybody. Like, it
Only
is
rape is
not
rape.
the same.
Like, it's
But
not.
men acted like her. I mean, it's not to say that it's a good thing to drug and rob people.
No,
It's
but it's not
but
rape.
it's not rape. But men, so many men act like that is on par with rape, and that it
That
should be
just
punished as if it were.
Yeah, that's stupid. That just shows me that they know what a violation rape is. Even though a
Yes.
lot of them will make posts like, "I don't understand why women are so fussed about it." I mean, a lot of these guys they pretend to be delusional and say like, "Oh, it's just bad sex." Like, even if you didn't really want it, like, how bad could it possibly be? Like, they underestimate like the pain and the violation of it. They just think of it like, because they're porn brained, right? So they
Mhm.
think like no matter what, women just seeing, I guess, a penis is like enough to send them into ecstasies or whatever. They have this weird thing about women, like, oh, it's just like bumping into someone's elbow by accident. Like, oops. No.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, yeah, it's such a lasting trauma that they'll never understand, I think.
No. Unless it happens to them by a bigger, stronger guy, and then they'll
Right.
understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But a lot of times they don't even understand then, because
Yeah.
you'll see them try to derail conversations about women's sexual assault
Mhm.
with like conversations about prison rape
Yeah.
and stuff. And it's like, okay, but if this really happened to you, you'd be more empathetic, not less.
Yes.
But
And
apparently you're
also,
less.
who is doing the prison raping?
Well, right. Obviously, they don't want to ever acknowledge that.
Right.
But
Passive
they
voice
also,
again.
yeah, it's passive voice, like woman attacked in park, oh, by whom?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Just mysterious entity, just attacked.
No,
Okay.
it just happens. You're walking along one day and all of a sudden it just happens. There's
Right.
no agent.
Woman was attacked. What are you going to
Yeah,
do?
exactly.
I came here today because I don't believe that rape is inevitable or natural. If I did, I would have no reason to be here. If I did, my political practice would be different than it is. Have you ever wondered why we are not just in armed combat against you? It's not because there's a shortage of kitchen knives in this country. It's because we believe in your humanity against all the evidence.
Um,
We do not want to do the work of helping you to believe in your humanity. We cannot do it anymore. We have always tried. We have been repaid with systematic exploitation and systematic abuse. You are going to have to do this for yourselves from now on, and you know it. Still fighting that fight today,
yeah,
41 years
with the
later.
and then like on a lesser scale, the whole male loneliness epidemic.
Right.
And now it's somehow women's
Women's
responsibility
fault. Yeah.
to
Like,
fix it. Uh,
you men are going to have to do this for yourselves. Come on. Pick it up, guys. Pick it up.
right.
The shame of men in front of women is, I think, an appropriate response both to what men do and to what men do not do. I think you should be ashamed. But what you do with that shame is to use it as an excuse to keep doing what you want and to keep not doing anything else. And you've got to stop. You've got to stop. Your psychology doesn't matter. How much you hurt doesn't matter in the end any more than how much we hurt matters. If we sat around and only talked about how much rape hurts us, do you think there would have been one of the changes that you have seen in this country in the last 15 years? There wouldn't have been. It is true that we had to talk to each other. How else, after all, were we supposed to find out that each of us was not the only woman in the world not asking for it to whom rape or battery had ever happened? We couldn't read it in the newspapers, not then. We couldn't find a book about it. But you do know, and now the question is what you are going to do. And so your shame and your guilt that are very much besides the point. They don't matter to us at all, in any way. They're not good enough. They don't do anything.
Yeah, this is actually why I have a very like a very guarded view of men who insist on bullying their way into the spaces where women are talking to each other. Like, I
Yes.
see it as a actually a red flag of like somebody with a rapist mentality, somebody
Yes.
with very misogynistic, because they'll just be like, well, you're being just, why can't men comment here? Like, why can't men participate? We just want to participate. I see that as very ominous because
Yes.
they don't want women talking to each other. They
Right.
want every one of us to think that we are uniquely, uh, just unlucky, and they don't want it to be known that it's an endemic thing.
Yes.
And they're
It's
terrified.
like they're men are the world's hall monitors,
Yeah.
right? They're like they want to know what it is that we're talking about, what we're up to,
Yes.
and they want to put a stop to it right quick.
Yes. And everything we say needs to pass through their little judgment committee
Mhm.
as being appropriate. And I'm going to say any man I've ever met in my real life worth his salt is not interested in dominating or infiltrating women's groups or spaces.
Yes.
And the ones that are need to
Get
be,
away.
yeah, you need to get away from those guys and
Mhm.
ban them and silence them and kick them out of your groups
Yeah.
because there's a reason they're doing it and it's not good.
Mhm.
Sorry, there are so many comments.
I know,
Okay.
it's great. Maybe that's why Tibbs are so eager to push
Yeah.
themselves into only spaces. That
Yes.
and with Tim's, it's that and they get off on it too.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they're AGPs. Mm-hmm.
Nessa says, I'd forgotten about this, but during the second Obama administration, he signed into an anti prison rape bill. 99% of those affected were men. Imagine if we passed an anti female rape bill. Imagine.
Imagine. I mean, yeah, this goes into, sometimes you'll read a story about a girl taken advantage of or raped, or a woman abused or raped, and the comments can be a real mixed bag. I'll tell you, there's uh, a lot of blaming.
Yes.
And it seems like when something happens to men, or it also includes men, it gets taken a lot more
Yeah,
seriously.
then it's a tragedy. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, that's just like that statistic. Like one death is a tragedy, but 100,000 deaths is a statistic.
Mhm.
Like it's the
Right.
same. It's like when it
Mm.
happens to women, well, it's just like that's just what happens to women.
Yeah,
But
it's a
if it happens
woman's
to a
issue.
man, it's so awful.
Right. It's a whole humanity issue now. It's not just a niche woman's issue, like, "Oh, who cares about that?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
that is very true.
As a feminist, I carry the rape of all the women I've talked to over the past 10 years personally with me. As a woman, I carry my own rape with me. Do you remember pictures that you've seen of European cities during the plague when there were wheelbarrows that would go along and people would just pick up corpses and throw them in? Well, that is what it is like knowing about rape. Piles and piles and piles of bodies that have whole lives and human names and human faces.
Ugh.
I speak for many feminists, not only myself, when I tell you that I am tired of what I know and sad beyond any words I have about what has already been done to women up to this point. Now, up to 2:24 p.m. on this day here in this place. And
Mm.
I want one day of respite, one day off, one day in which no new bodies are piled up, one day in which no new agony is added to the old. And I am asking you to give it to me. And how could I ask you for less? It is so little. And how could you offer me less? It is so little. Even in wars, there are days of truce. Go and organize a truce. Stop your side for one day. I want a 24-hour truce during which there is no rape. I dare you to try it. I demand that you try it. I don't mind begging you to try it. What else could you possibly be here to do? What else could this movement possibly mean? What else could matter so much? And on that day of truce, that day when not one woman is raped, we will begin the real practice of equality because we can't begin it before that day. Before that day, it means nothing because it is nothing. It is not real. It is not true. But on that day, it becomes real. And then, instead of rape, we will, for the first time in our lives, both men and women, begin to experience freedom. If you have a conception of freedom that includes the existence of rape, you are wrong. You cannot change what you say you want to change. For myself, I want to experience just one day of real freedom before I die. I leave you here to do that for me and for the women whom you say you love.
Mhm.
Damn. So this was originally published under the title Talking to Men About Rape in Out magazine.
1984.
1984. My bad.
Close enough.
Ugh,
Still a long ass time ago.
I know. And 40 years later, um, there hasn't been one day
No. And so much of what's in here, I was just floored about how relevant it is in
to
2024.
today.
Uh, Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I feel like feminism is constantly reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
Like the movement gets infiltrated and changed. You know, obviously we do talk about like the capitalist lib fem type choosy choice male catering type feminism, right? And
Yeah.
then after that, people start discovering essays from Dworkin and other second wave feminists, and they're like, wow, look at these new ideas,
Yes.
even though they're 40 plus years old.
Ah, we love you,
Yeah.
Dworkin.
Yeah, we love Dworkin. I love her gut punch writing. I love the fact that she doesn't mince any words at all.
Mm-hmm.
Her language is, I mean, it's very like provocative, I guess, for lack of a better
Emotive.
word. Emotive. Yeah, like she's not
Um,
afraid to go there.
ev- evocative.
Evocative.
There we
Evocative.
go.
Yes, not provocative. Evocative. That's a better word.
We got there in
Yes.
the end.
Hmm.
Um, I want to point out, Ballistic wrote, people are always like, but what about male victims? And I feel like they're only thought about when they want to distract us from the fact that
Yeah.
most rapists are men, that and women can rape too.
Yeah, that's what
Um,
I meant about like talking about guys who'll barge in and be like, well, what
yeah.
about prison rape? What about men? Or some of them will even be like, I was assaulted by a woman. But they don't have empathy for the women who are talking about their own rapes in that thread. They're just doing it to distract and shame the women there for not prioritizing men. You know what I mean? It's not like, "Oh, I'm commiserating with you. Yes, this happened to me. I'm sorry that happened to you. Let's all heal together." It's more like, "Shut up."
Yes, exactly. That's exactly it. Great comment from Nessa. It's almost as if staying with the root of feminism is actually feminism.
Yeah,
Almost.
the
Oh
root
no,
being our female bodies.
exactly. Our femaleness.
Yeah,
Oh, that's a good essay.
it is.
Um, I feel compelled, since we just spent so long talking about rape, um,
Yeah.
to direct anyone who might need it to rain.org,
Yeah, yes.
which is, what does RAIN stand for? I don't know, but
I don't remember.
it's like the leading support for survivors of sexual violence. Um, and they can also help you get connected to supports in your own area if you want them. So
Yes. Yes. They're a good resource. I've heard good things about them.
yeah, I've always heard just how wonderful they
Mhm.
are. Um,
Yeah, Summer Sun and Sweet D both make good points.
I
Yeah,
think men barge in because they are trying to deflect. Yep. They know the problem is severe and they have no antidote. It's usually mainly women who care about male victims anyway. Yep.
yeah, feminists are forever being like, we're the ones we're the ones who have empathy for all sexual assault victims. Like we're the ones trying to deconstruct patriarchy and these kind of attitudes that make it so that like boys and men can't talk about it. Feminists are not the ones being like, oh, you sound really lucky, I wish my teacher had done that. That's not feminists saying that kind of thing.
Mm-mm.
That's stupid ass men. Other
Yep.
men.
Yep. Uh, Men laugh at other men or deny that men have been abused, usually by other men.
Or they call them lucky. They
Yeah.
you know, like what? No.
I think they just don't want us to notice that since a huge percentage of rapists are male, and that proves how rape has a gender factor to it, and that they as men have this huge issue.
Mm.
Yes. Good
Yeah, they want
point.
everybody to fall for the lie that it's exactly 50-50, and
Hmm.
it's not. Living Lux, this was a essay by Andrea Dworkin
Yes.
called Yes, I want a 20. Okay, you already answered. Sorry.
It's okay. And the link to the essay is in the description box of the video, so you can find it there. Oh, this is good too. Women who abuse their younger students get punished more often because it's out of the norm for women to do that. Yeah, more often and more severely than the men who do it.
Although even though men do say online like, "Oh, those women get no punishment. They get a slap
Yeah.
on the wrist." No, they don't. They're dragged. They are completely dragged. They're locked away.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, ballistic.
Ooh. Go
Mm,
off, Nessa. Men hate to be called rapists, but are never really bothered by rapists existing.
right. That's those guys over there. It has nothing to do with me. That's the guy in the bushes.
Yep. Or it's always been a really good guy to me. I've never seen him do anything like that.
Freaking micro-brained. Like, no shit. Like,
Yep. I'm just putting the link to Rain in the description box also.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sweetie, I've actually noticed that the women's stories are very sensationalized, and I think they get more clicks because of their notoriety and general obscurity. Like, it's more obscure for a woman to do that, less common.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've actually had to kind of stop because I do listen to true crime. I'm very picky about
Yep.
what kind. I don't like the ones where people do their makeup or do meaningless shit while they talk
Right.
about people in their lives
Like
and stuff like
gossip
that.
and gore.
Yeah, I
Like,
know. Screw that. But what I also don't like are the ones that, present it more professionally, but they overrepresent, uh, the women, or they blame women in the men's serial killers' lives
right. Oh,
for the
yeah.
men doing
You had a
it. Like they're
domineering mother.
the mother. Yeah, it's always the domineering mother. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Everybody likes the Norman Bates plot line, apparently, where it's his mom that made him, but that's not really reality. So,
Okay. Living Lux says, I've noticed the true crime stories centered around women, she means committing the crimes,
yeah,
seem to get the most views.
yeah,
Interesting. Interesting.
yeah. I've noticed that too, and a lot of it too is like if an ex-husband kills his ex-wife, that's just a Tuesday, right? Like you
Yeah,
can go
exactly.
into any local paper or a national news outlet and find a story like that, but a woman killing someone is
Yeah. She's like a black widow.
yeah, right. Even though it happens way, way, way less. You could probably find so many more stories of men murdering women to the point where you wouldn't never be able to cover them all in your lifetime ever.
Yeah. Ballistic says, around Halloween, I was thinking about how I hate slasher movies because they honestly feel like glorifying violence against women to me. Yeah, so often they are just like gore porn, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Ed Gein.
Ugh.
Actually, that's the one I had in mind when I said that,
Yeah,
for
exactly.
sure.
Yeah, exactly. Same was Ed Gein and his
Yeah, and
domineering
Kemper.
mother. Oh, Ed
Kemper
Kemper
too.
too. He
Yep.
actually, sorry, I was thinking of Kemper. Ed Gein was obsessed with his mother. Ed
Mm-hmm.
Kemper despised his mother.
Yeah, he did. But I've actually talked about this on stream too, but both of his parents were by all accounts not good. But
Right.
his dad was an abusive alcoholic who beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
So like it's so funny that the mother gets all this blame and the finger pointed at her for creating the monster that is Kemper, but his dad beat him silly.
Right.
Like,
Violence begets violence.
right. Nobody, you know, Kemper himself even wanted to reconcile with his dad when his dad was dying and did so. And it was like an amazing cathartic moment, I guess. But like, why all the forgiveness for his dad and none
And
for
none.
his mom? Because a lot of the guys that, most of the guys that murder women have this virulent misogyny that's just like extremely violent.
Yes.
Yeah, I like horror, not
Me
the gore porn type, but more like I like a nice ghost story. Like I like a psychological thriller,
too. Mhm.
you
Me
know?
too. A haunting.
Yeah. Oh yeah, stuff like that.
Yep.
I really liked the series Haunting of Hill House. That was really
Yeah.
well done. I've mentioned it before, but I recommend it.
I
Oh, is that Hard Candy Ballistic? I think
yes.
that's what that movie is. Oh yeah, again, it's my fault for not reading
That's
it.
okay. Starring
I
Ellen
haven't.
Page before she trooned out.
Yes, she's Ellen Page, and she's a girl. So,
Mhm.
or she was a girl in that movie,
Yeah.
and by that I mean young.
Yeah, girl. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was one of her first roles. Except no, Juno was her first role. I think. I don't know.
She was on a Canadian show for a long time before like her breakout into movies.
Okay.
But yeah. Uh,
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Dana Rivers. Yes.
Yeah, he
Yeah, he
murdered.
murdered two women and their child. Two
Yeah,
lesbian, like a lesbian couple and their child.
their
And I'm
adopted
pretty sure
son.
it was sexually motivated too, because like they wouldn't include him in their sex life.
Yeah, doesn't
Ugh.
surprise me. Those poor women.
Yes.
Oh, Ice Goddess, that's Dahmer.
Yes.
Yeah, Rosie, yeah, it's Dahmer. Well,
Mhm.
that was, I think, back in the 70s and 80s, and the cops were just homophobic pieces of
Homophobic.
shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
They saw this kid.
Thought it was funny. Like these two kids.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And they thought it was like a lover's quarrel, and they weren't, even though the kid had a hole in his head, like, how'd you not notice that?
Yeah. I also read that later on in their careers, those particular two officers were like awarded some kind of policing awards for like service to the community. It's
Ugh.
like, hmm,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, well, that boy's blood is on their hands, so because he almost got out.
I know. It's so sad. So
Yeah,
sad.
that's why if you encounter that, I would get the hell away because Dana Rivers is on like the spectrum of guys that feel entitled to like police women's spaces and dominate and infiltrate. And you just never know. You never know what these guys are capable of and what they feel entitled to do.
Mhm.
So I don't know. For me, it's like a real blaring red flag when a guy's like, "Let men in. Why can't you let me in? I want to participate. I want to do this and that."
Yeah, no, thank you.
That's why I'm very quick with the ban hammer if that happens. Like, nope, get out.
Get out.
Get out, Dana. Nobody wants you.
Ugh, gross. This is interesting. I'm convinced that Tims who go after lesbians are actually wanting to break the ultimate boundary, so to speak. Women who wouldn't date them no matter what. Well, yeah, like I mean,
Yeah,
they're no different than a quote unquote cis straight man. They're the same thing. They
right.
want to break. I mean, there's even a whole category of porn that's called lesbian breaking.
Yeah, and that's why they created that disgusting cotton ceiling, which,
Yes.
by the way, reading about that was a major factor in my peaking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us your
Y-
peaking stories.
I, gosh, mine was so uh, long over time. Like, just so pre 2019, I want to say, I was a lefty, you know, I would call myself a lib femme, especially compared to now. Okay. But I wasn't ever fully bought into that whole thing, like pro pro BDSM, pro prostitution. I was never like that. I never liked that stuff. I never
Yeah.
liked the pro exploitation side of like the whole choosy choice thing. But as far as the whole trans thing went, I kind of had the mentality that like, well, I don't know anything about it. It's not really I don't have a dog in that fight. Like, I don't understand. Uh, oh, Nessa, cotton sealing is the term that men who are pretending to be women use to refer to lesbian underwear, and that it presents a barrier to them to
To their
getting
success.
into. Right,
It's like the concept of the glass ceiling, except it's literally describing the underpants of lesbians that
right.
they want to break through.
It is as disgusting and explicit as that. And it is the worst. So yeah, my peaking journey was like it never sat right with me. And I used to like even back in the day, I used to watch BreadTube and I knew about ContraPoints and stuff like that. And then he came out with this video calling himself a lesbian. And I remember thinking to myself, like, you're just like a straight guy. So you're just like a guy, like a straight dude. Like, why are you calling yourself a lesbian? That's just weird. And then I don't remember where I heard about cotton stealing, but when I read it, I was literally enraged. They had a seminar about it where they could gather men together to brainstorm tactics to break down lesbians, to let these
Sexual
guys,
boundaries.
yeah, let these guys into bed. And first of all, fat chance of that, right? But
Yeah.
the fact that that would even be something that would be condoned and accepted was disgusting to me. And that was like a major hammer in the brick wall of my
Yeah.
kind of acceptance. Like, I never thought men were women and women were men, but what I did do was I kind of took a step back and was like, well, I'm not gay, and I don't understand what being trans is, but I'm not going to speak about it because I don't know what it is. You know, maybe I don't
Mhm.
understand. Maybe there's something about it. But the more I read, and then the cotton ceiling led me to, spaces on Reddit back when they still existed, where you could see what these people say and what they write about women, their thoughts about women. And having been in the feminist like blog space, online space since the aughts,
Mhm.
these guys' words literally had, it was no different than like the incels or the manosphere guys and the stuff that they would say about girls, quote unquote, getting girls.
Ugh.
And it, yeah, it just, it had a different coat of paint on it, but the
Yeah.
basic ideas were the same. And I remember thinking like, for a lot of the mainstream feminist subs, the pro trans, the, oh, we like trans people here, like all those spaces, I remember thinking like, take this paragraph that this Tim wrote, and I dare you to find a difference. And I'm going to show you a paragraph from a blog that catalogs incels, and they're literally the same picture. Like,
Yes.
it's the same, these are the same concepts, the same entitlement, the same boundary violations, the same weird sexual like undertones where they're getting off on it. And like, when a perv on the internet is getting off on it.
Yes.
it like, why can't you see this? So I would say that I probably peaked uh in 2019. That was like the start of it. And then I fully let it go in 2020,
Mhm.
fully. And I was like, this is bullshit. And then it just like spiraled from there. I think I found you
Eh,
around that time. I forget when,
cool.
but yeah, you helped me like really ditch makeup and stuff. Not that I ever wore a ton of makeup,
Mm.
but I still had the occasional for a special occasion or whatever. And then I just ended
Yeah.
up throwing it all away. It was great, very liberating.
Yeah. Thanks. That's great news.
Yeah, and then
I
not just that. I mean,
no,
there's
I know.
a lot of your videos and your ideas, and I was like, wow, that's exactly what I've thought all these years. But like, you really shone a light as to where I always bumped up against the mainstream feminist line of thought,
Mm,
and I didn't realize that there was an actual third option. You know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like being anti porn, anti quote sex work, you know,
Yeah.
anti male domination, all that crap.
Hmm.
The mainstream feminist thought is that if you're against all that stuff, you're just a right wing prude, right? But that's not the
Yeah.
case.
No. I never had like a peak trans moment because
Mm.
I came to radical feminism like so peak trans is like some crazy trans involved thing happened that made you be like, "Oh, enough is enough."
Oh,
I
right.
I didn't come to radical feminism in that way. I like, and I've talked about this, I even made a video about it, but I in 2013 I had seen a lot of people on my Tumblr dashboard being like, "Ooh, everyone block this user. She's." And back then the word turf didn't even exist. It
Yeah.
was they called radical feminists rad scum. So like,
Mm.
"Oh, block this rad scum." And I was like, "Who is this blogger?" So I went and looked at her blog, and I like would read it every single day. Um, I would read and scroll back to where I finished off the day before and just read her posts. And I was like, "Oh, why is she so like mean toward trans people? Like trans people just want to live. Like what's her like
Yeah.
I wasn't ever like trans women are women, but I was like they're just like living their life. Like why is she
No,
so mean? Why does she hate them so
same.
much?" And
Yeah.
then quite literally it was a light switch moment. It was 1 second to the next second. And I was like, why is she so oh my God, actually, I think I get what she's saying. Like
Yeah.
it's literally that. Um,
Yes.
and I sent her okay, now I have to find it because I still I have the messages that I sent her. Baby radical in 2013, figuring it all out.
Oh, baby radical.
So I sent her blog like an anonymous message because I was like working it out in my brain. And I wrote,
Mm.
I think it just clicked for me. I've always thought of the RadFem approach as anti trans people and hating all trans people, but reading your blog, I think I get it. It's not that you hate trans people, it's them taking on the word woman as if there is a certain way to be a woman.
Yeah.
You're cool with anyone dressing, acting, or looking however they want because there should be no gender constructs, whether you have a vagina or a penis, because gender is
Right.
false. I said,
Exactly.
so a person with a penis is free to look, dress, wear feminine things, and be whoever they want, but not take on the word woman. Am I understanding this? That was
Oh,
me
baby
11 years
rad.
ago. And then
Well, yeah.
she replied in kind, very nicely. Sorry to interrupt you. Um,
No, please.
and then she replied like just being like, yeah, that's exactly it. They're not women, but they can do what they want, but they're just not women. And then I sent her
Right.
another anonymous message and I said, I'm the last Anon. And wow, this is a major aha moment for me. I get it now. I consider
Yes.
myself a feminist, but I've always been like, why do rad femmes hate trans people? That's so horrible. But oh my God, I
Yeah.
get it. It was like a literal click just happened. And I get it. There's no gender. No one has a gender. There's no right or wrong way to exist as the sex you are. I was like,
Right. It's
yeah.
all stereotypes, and it's
Yeah.
flinging us backwards into a time before I was even born, you know?
Hmm.
Like, regressive, it's not progressive. I mean, I don't yeah, I don't care what you wear, I don't care any you know? Like,
Exactly.
we both know friend of the channel, Kai, right? Very
Yes,
feminine
Kai
presenting. Kai Decadence.
decadence. Yes.
He is an extremely feminine presenting man, but he makes no bones about the fact that he is male
He's a
and
man.
he is a man, and that's that, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, that's not like it's not like the anti-trans conservative people that are like, "Ew, boys in dresses, ew."
Right. No, I literally don't
Mm-mm.
care.
I literally
Like,
don't care either.
quite
But you're not
frankly,
female.
if a man wants to like subvert gender norms and wear a dress,
Yeah,
go for it. Knock your socks off. There's something like kind of empowering isn't the word, but like
yeah,
a man who dresses like that and is like, yeah, I'm a man and I like this stuff, but I'm still a man. That is
right.
way more like profound than
Absolutely.
I'm a woman because I like a dress.
I
Like,
mean, I was a kid in the 80s. We had Boy George and we had Prince
yes,
and we had David Bowie, and they were all men, and it just
yes,
wasn't. We had Annie Lennox. I mean,
yes.
she had a buzzed head and wore suits. Like, it wasn't
Grace
like,
Jones.
yeah, but they were women, and Bowie and Prince and Boy George, they were men, and that was it.
Hmm.
So to me, it's not about the presentation. It's not about the dressing. I'm not icked out by
No,
people like, I don't I don't gender present or whatever that's supposed to
right.
mean. So, like, yeah.
Great question, Nessa.
Oh my God.
I
I
don't
know,
tune ever
right?
gender bend by not being misogynistic, right? Okay, let's
I
look at this from Summer Sun. I have to admit, I
mm,
struggle with men who want to dress like a woman because I feel like they're forcing us all to be voyeurs. They're parading their fetish in public. Thoughts? I would
mm,
probably agree mostly, but not necessarily.
yeah, I guess I take the tactic of, like, if attention is what they want, I'm just going to ignore them.
Right.
Like, okay, you're always going to have those attention-seeking people existing anyway, and I don't know. All
I
I can
yeah, I think there's a difference between an AGP
Mhm.
and like not to call him out because but we're talking about him anyway, and somebody like Kai Decadence on YouTube.
Right. Right,
Um,
which who is not, and but if I
right.
okay, if I saw what looked like a clear AGP dude out there in, like, fishnets and, like, a bikini top and, like, a
Stripper
mini
heels and yeah.
right. I all I can control is what I do and how I react. I can't control that guy. And it obviously he wants a horrified reaction, he wants stares, he wants to get off on the
Right.
voyeuristic. So the way I do that is I do not pay any attention to that sort of thing. Do just extinguish it.
Hmm.
That's all
Yeah,
you
I
can
think you
do.
can also tell, right? Like
Yeah.
the fishnets, the heels, the
Yeah.
crop top versus like a dude who's just wearing a skirt.
Right,
You could
exactly. I
tell
mean,
what they're doing.
it's basically like, would a female person
Go in public
be
like this.
right, or be condoned with, like, no, she would never. Are you kidding? She would
Mhm.
be called every name under the sun and harassed and probably, but these men do that. But I do change my tactic uh when we're talking about, like, that guy that wore the giant anime tits, like, in the
Yeah, yeah.
school.
Matthew
That's
something.
different. Yeah. That's like doing it in front of kids who have literally no choice but to just sit in a classroom and stare at him. I'm talking about on the street. Like, if I saw him in the grocery store, um, I'm just gonna roll my eyes and not pay any attention to him. But yeah, I agree that the forcing to be voyeurs thing is definitely relevant, like in a captured audience type of environment,
Mhm.
like a school or even a workplace, you know. Like,
Mhm.
if I wouldn't be allowed to wear something per the dress code, uh, Tim shouldn't be allowed to wear it either.
Yes, agreed. Um, there was a comment, Sweet D. She says she peaked when a woman in her class at university introduced me to her girlfriend, who turned out to be a straight up dude. Then that reminded me of a story of myself. I'm a dog sitter, and I got a request to come meet a couple and their dog to dog sit for them.
Uh-oh.
And well, actually, the messages it was just a woman.
Mm.
And then I got to the house for the meeting, and she invited me and she was like, oh yeah, my wife is just here somewhere too, she'll be joining us in a second. And I was like, oh my god, like lesbians, how cool, what are the chances, her wife, yay. And then
Oh, the disappointment is coming.
uh, and then around the corner came just some guy with long
Ugh.
hair, just
Oh.
some guy. And
Awkward.
like he was wearing, quote unquote women's clothes.
you know.
normal women's clothes, like women's clothes from the women's section, not like,
Yeah, like,
but,
maybe
and he had long
she's
hair, but
dressed
I
for the
was like,
outfits.
that is just some guy.
Yeah.
But like that's business. Like I was obviously just normal and cordial. And then I did dog sit for them. Um, and I like so during the meet and greet, like I was just in their living room, but then when I dog sat for them, like I obviously was in the house.
Mhm.
And in their hallway they had like their wedding pictures, and it
Oh,
was
no.
so cringe because they had wedding pictures from when he was still a guy, and then they
Oh.
had to redo them so he could wear a wedding dress.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it
Mm-mm.
was bad. And then
They
in
always wanna skinwalk their wives too.
exactly,
Ugh.
exactly, he's trying to become her. And then
Yeah.
also in their bedroom there's like a giant trans flag hanging on the wall that they sleep under every night, and I was
Nope.
like, oh my god, the poor
Mm-mm.
wife.
Mm-mm. And
The
listen,
poor wife.
as a woman who has dealt with men in a romantic sense, right?
Mhm.
You don't wanna be with any fetishist at
No.
all. At all. Like, male fetishists, no matter what it is, it's gonna be a bad time.
Yeah,
It's
it's
gonna be
like
gross, gonna make you feel gross and used, and, like, I they're skeevy, they're cringy,
mhm,
everything's about their fetish, and
your
that goes
fetish,
for
exactly.
yeah, it goes for AGP, it goes for feet, it goes for whatever fetish they've got. If you're in a relationship like that, ugh, I am so sorry. I have
Yeah.
never been, but I obviously have associated with dudes, and I know a lot of women that have associated with dudes, and it is never a
Mhm.
good time, it's always a bad time. So it's not even
Yep.
specifically about the whole trans thing, it's about the fetish.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be about trans stuff, it could be about anything,
Yeah.
like, a fetish, like, there's a difference between, like, something you just like or you enjoy doing versus something that's a fetish. Like, a fetish is,
Uh-huh.
like, they can't they
They're
can't
literally
not have it.
obsessed with it.
Right.
They work it into conversation.
Yeah,
They work it into everyday mundane things. You can't escape it. Everything you do has to cater to that fetish. Like, you
exactly.
can't just be. It's
It
always like,
becomes,
well,
like, the dominating factor in everything.
right. So, like, for this dude, it's probably about, like, affirming him as a woman. Everything she does has to affirm him and cater to that, and she can't ever just be, like, free in the intimacy. It always has to be like, "Well, I can't say or do the wrong thing," and it's the same thing with any fetish.
Yep. Yep. Ugh.
Yeah, I just got us, and this the dudiest dudes to ever do it is what Tim's are, and it kinda goes back to that other comment about, uh why don't they ever gender bend by not being misogynistic? And it's funny because they never affirm their womanhood by doing the shit work that women do.
Right, they're not doing the laundry, they're not scrubbing the
Mm-mm.
floors,
No,
they're not,
but
yeah,
no, unless it's like a specific again, a fetish, because I've seen some of them dress up like a 1950s housewife,
housewife, yes, exactly.
but it's not about the real work and drudgery, it's about the image, the aesthetic.
Yep,
So, like, they're never doing, like, the shit grunt work that women are expected to do.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
I once unfortunately saw a guy on Twitter, ugh, that
Uh-oh.
he was trans identifying, but he was like a man in his late 50s, early 60s, I'm sure,
Ugh.
who like just looked like somebody's grandpa, but but was had a hijab fetish. Like
Oh.
he was identifying as trans, but also a hijabi. But he would wear like disgustingly short, revealing mini skirts and dresses with
Mhm.
the hijab. And it's
Yeah.
like, so you're fetishizing like the oppression on two different levels
Yes.
of being sexually exploited in the clothing he's choosing to wear and being sexually objectified in the hijab he's choosing to wear. Like
Yeah.
it was like AGP squared. Like, whoa.
Squared.
Like, ugh. It was
Yes.
crazy.
Yeah,
Oh
well, so the
no. I came across
oh,
a video of
yeah.
Tim saying he feels most womanly when he does house chores. Oh my god.
Yeah, but if it doesn't get their rocks off, they won't do it. Like
Right.
it's all about what makes their peen happy, and that's it.
Yeah, when they say when they get gender euphoria and really it's
Mm,
just a boner.
it's just a boner.
Ah!
Yeah, but and that's the other thing too, like to guys like that, the oppression that women face either under the hijab or being overly sexually exploited and all that stuff. It's all just a game to them. It's just what gives them a boner. That's it.
Yep.
They have no empathy towards anything women feel. They're not women. They're never going to be women. And
Right.
even if they tried to, they can't even empathize with like they can't even pretend because they literally can't. Everything's about their dick feels, like everything. Like, they can't see beyond that. Uh-huh.
Choppy Grandpa was the Madonna and the whore at the same time.
Yes,
Oh my god.
that was a very apt description.
Choppy Grandpa. What? That's a, have you seen that Reddit that's like r/brand new sentence?
Mm-hmm.
It's like that
Mm-hmm.
sentence has never been said before.
That's a brand new sentence for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Oh,
ballistic. Me too. I ain't Martha Stewart, so
yeah.
yeah.
Oh my god.
Yep.
Let them clean up the dog vomit and see if that gets them off.
Yeah, that's what I it's all about, like, putting on the dress and, like, pushing the vacuum
Right.
around
The
and
fantasy.
but, like, actually scrubbing dog diarrhea out of the carpet, I can't see
No,
that
that would
really, like,
totally ruin the fantasy.
doing it for
Oh my god. This is the world we live in.
Mhm. It sure
Mm.
is. How do you feel?
Mm. Also, I should mention that hijabi grandpa was a white guy also. I should just mention that. Like he wasn't like of that culture, right? Like not that you
Yeah,
can't.
so it's like appropriation, right?
Yeah, appropriation and fetishization of womanhood, but also the oppression of Muslim womanhood. God,
Yeah, that actually now that
years.
you tell me that story and that we're talking about it, that was part of the like, it was, like, a minor factor in my peaking, because on the left, you see things like that dude, right? Who
Mhm.
are misogynistic or they're appropriating something, and because they're trans, nobody can call them out
Yes.
on it. And it used to frustrate me because if anybody else had done it, they would have gotten, like, lambasted
Oh
online by
yeah. You're
yeah, so
right.
I
It's like their
yeah,
transness is like insurance.
it is. And they could post what looks like a fucking manifesto. But, if a guy on the incel subreddit had done it, obviously, lefties would take issue with that or whatever, but because it's a trans, you can't say anything. Like, they can spew the most misogynistic, they can be racist,
Yeah, you're
they can
right.
be appropriating, and they can parade around kids in fetish gear, and nobody says boo about it. And it's like, okay, so we're we're really just relativistic about this. Like, they're the top priest class. You can't say anything against them.
Hmm. Go
They're
off, queen.
the untouchables. It's like I don't
Yes.
believe in untouchables
No.
ever. Anybody can be criticized, but yeah. And that's how it also like gained almost a religious fervor to me. Like, I see trans ideology as like a religion
Yes,
because
that's like the Lisa and I did a stream about is gender a cult?
yeah,
And
well,
then on
yeah,
her channel we did the counterpart is gender a religion? And
mhm,
the conclusive answer is absolutely to both.
right. Yeah, because you can't question it. It relies on intangible soul feelings that can't be quantified,
Mhm.
and yeah, and they have priests that can't be questioned, which are basically Tims because they're higher than TIFs because TIFs are female.
Yes.
So, and then nobody sees that. You know,
Mm.
they weirdly enough, they love all the trans women creators and they think they're so amazing and they follow them all on Twitter. But, you know, trans men are just, I don't know. There's something about them I don't like.
Yeah.
Okay.
What could that
When,
be?
yeah, what could that be?
What could that be? I'm gonna link to Maya's gender occult stream in the description box because
Mm,
it's one of my proudest YouTube
yeah,
achievements.
I should give it a listen again. Probably this week when I'm working. Get a nice throwback listen.
Fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ooh, good comment, Ice Goddess.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, there's a reason why in a lot of really like theocratic, oppressive societies, it's more acceptable to trans yourself out than to be gay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, you're curing the gay.
Right. Yep.
Trans the gay away.
Yeah,
Very sad.
it is.
Like, is it Iran or Iraq? One of the two. I think it's Iran.
I think it's around too.
They provide like transition surgeries are like mandatory for gay people. Like,
Yeah.
you can either have the surgery to be quote unquote corrected, or we'll throw you off the roof.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, what a choice, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bad times.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
How you feeling?
Me?
Yeah. I know
Um,
you're a little tired after
I
going to
was
the pool.
sleepy. I went swimming this morning in
Yeah.
between F1 sessions.
So fun.
Yeah, it was. But yeah, then swimming is just, it always makes me sleepy.
It does.
And I
And
was trying,
hungry.
and hungry, yeah. So I came home after that, and then I was watching F1 qualifying. Um, but I was so sleepy that I just dozed off during it.
Mm.
Um, and then I did set an alarm for this stream because I was like, I think I might fall asleep. So I set an alarm. And then I did indeed fall asleep. But
I was
yeah,
when I was setting up, I was actually wondering, I'm like, I wonder if Radical fell asleep.
I wonder if she's asleep right now.
I wonder if she's asleep. I wonder if she's gonna be late. I actually thought that. I was like, oh, that'd
I
be
was
so cute.
proactive and I set an alarm.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I am kind of sleepy.
Mm.
And I haven't had lunch yet.
What are you gonna have?
Well, my heart is broken because I'm out of cottage cheese.
No, you can't have the favorite.
I know, my new snack that I'm obsessed with. So
You gotta tell everybody what it is.
it's cottage cheese with cut up tomatoes and salt and pepper. It's very
Mm.
nothing, but it's so good. Ooh, here's a good question. Can women race in the cars with the men if they want? Yes, absolutely. Right now, unfortunately, there are no women in F1, but there have been in the past. Not for a long time, unfortunately, but there have been. And I do have hope that there will be women in F1. They have a women's league right now where it's just all women, but there is no reason that F1 itself should be gendered. Um, uh, I don't see a reason for it to be gendered. There certainly could be women, and I'm actually kind of hopeful for a racer. Her name is Jessica Hawkins. She is a brand ambassador for the Aston Martin team, and she races in the F1 Academy, which is the women's league. And actually, at the end of season last year, she did some test laps for Aston Martin, and her lap times were better than their current reserve drivers. So,
Oh,
yeah, so I kind of wonder. And also, the team owner of Aston Martin is like, I don't know if I'd say progressive, but he's very like willing to do and try anything for his team. So like I kind of would love to see Jessica Hawkins get into an F1 car proper one day.
yeah, that'd be
Um
pretty cool. Yeah, why is it so gendered? It's a car. That's
yeah,
weird.
well because I think because motorsport, it's always been
Mm.
an old boys club, right?
Oh,
Like I think that's
yeah.
why. There are certainly lots of women who work in F1, like my team, Red Bull, their premier race strategist is a woman, Hannah
Mm.
Schmitz. And there's lots of women. There's lots of women who work in F1, whether it be on the mechanics side of things, the engineering side of things, the strategy, logistics.
Yeah, that's great.
There and there have been women drivers in the past.
Yeah.
So there certainly could be again, and there should be. There's no reason that there isn't. It's just um, when teams pick new drivers, they pick from the lesser leagues like the F2, F3, F4, and they typically also unfortunately it's a money thing too.
Mm.
Like teams want to know who's going to bring them money. So if a driver has sponsors who are willing to pay to get their driver into
Mhm.
the F1 team, unfortunately,
Mhm.
it's a capitalist rich man's sport.
Yeah.
Um, eh.
Yeah,
But
that's true. They're discouraged from participating.
yeah, that too. But I am also feeling a little hopeful and optimistic because F1 has had like an explosion in popularity because of the Netflix show. There's a docu-series show called Drive to Survive. There's 6 seasons that have followed the last 6 seasons of F1, and it has exploded in popularity. Well, in 2025, the female league is getting a Netflix show as well. So I'm
Ooh.
really hoping that that will also kind of help to really drive pun things forward.
Yeah.
um, and maybe then, people will be more. Uh, I would love to see another woman in F1. I really would.
Yeah. Rosie, the whole
Um,
thing about women being lighter, you'd think that'd be an advantage.
well,
Or maybe not. Maybe it would be make the car too prone to crashing. I don't do you need the
so
weight?
the thing is, okay, another thing is there is a weight limit,
Hmm.
a lower limit. The drivers have to be X amount of weight,
Oh.
and that's a more of a recent rule because unfortunately there have been a lot of eating disorders in F1
What?
because the lighter you are, the faster the car is going to go. Like
Yeah.
I've even heard drivers outright say, like if they say they gain just a kilogram, which is 2.2 pounds, say
Wow.
they are 2.2 pounds heavier this race than last race, that can cost them 2 to 3 tenths of a second, which sounds like nothing, but it is everything.
Yeah, that's
So,
crazy.
so when it comes to women, they're women are typically less heavy than men, right? And
Mhm.
but there's no reason that they couldn't just like if a woman is too light, they can add weight to the car, like, and they do
That's
that for the
yeah.
men.
Yeah, that is I don't know why I didn't think of that. They could just add some weight to it.
Yeah, they do that for the men. There are some drivers who are just like string beans, so they have to add weight to the car. Um,
Kind of reminds me of horse jockeys a little
exactly.
bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, but also they would have to then redo some of the rules because like if the minimum weight for male drivers is like 160 pounds, a 5'1" athletic woman is not going to weigh that,
No, not at
right?
all.
So
Mm-mm.
they would have to like redo the rules for women.
Well, yeah, they could have just it because we have different bodies, right? So they'd
Hmm.
have to have a separate, kind of like the army, a separate
Hmm.
set of
Like conditions
requirements.
or like whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah. But yes,
yeah.
all that to say, hopefully one day we'll see Jessica Hawkins in F1. That would be
I hope
nice.
so. And when that docu-series about the female racers comes out, if you
Yeah,
watch it, let me know how it is.
I'm sure it will be amazing. Very exciting. Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
that's true.
the cars are. There's
Well,
no reason it couldn't be
but
fit for a female body.
there's been studies about how like crash test dummies are only ever like
Yeah,
male, like they're
male
the height.
specs.
Yeah, like the height and weight of males, and like the airbags are better for males, and like women and children can get really injured depending on how petite and small they are.
The only thing I could think of that could be a potential hindrance for a woman in F1 is muscle. Men are
Mm.
able to put on muscle easier than women, and they drive so fast, and the corners have such high G forces that
Mm.
F1 drivers have to specifically train their necks so that their necks don't snap.
Yeah.
So like that's the
Wow.
only hindrance I could really see, but I suppose a woman could train that well. Like,
I mean, women can be pilots and then they have to train for G-forces there too.
yeah, 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 totally. I think about like in one of the races in the UK in 2021, Max Verstappen hit the wall.
Oh,
He hit the wall at 50 G's, 50 G's.
wow.
Yeah.
And he survived.
He survived. He was knocked unconscious, but he survived.
Yeah. That's crazy.
But yeah, it is a rich boys club and
Mm-hmm.
there were women before, so there could be women again.
Yeah.
Yeah. There could be women again. There should be.
There should
Well,
be.
oh, also,
Oh.
sorry. F1 with Radical. It was recently just announced that in 2026 there will be an additional team. So Cadillac has been approved to start a Formula One team. So there will now be 11 teams and 22 drivers instead of 20 drivers.
Ooh.
So, woman,
More slots. More women.
yeah, that would be nice.
I don't know. I don't know if women are slower to react. I do know that, I mean, at least when I was learning how to drive,
Yeah.
um, it was more acceptable for boys to be idiots and like race and be careless. And
Hmm.
I can't think of a single girl. Also, have you ever been on that subreddit like why women live longer or something like
Oh
that?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like
Men do
I
stupid shit.
they do, and I mean, I know you love F1, but like racing cars at that speed is, it's a little Darwinian.
Yo, for
Uh,
sure.
so maybe women have, and I don't know, I'm just talking on my ass maybe, but like women seem to have more of a self-preservation and less testosterone induced tomfoolery, uh, less, speed demon risk taking, I guess. I don't know,
Mm,
but that's not to say that no women would find it like exhilarating and a blast to speed around a racetrack, but
yeah, for
it kind of
sure.
like trying to overcome socialization. Like I think women are also socialized to be really responsible and like take care of their siblings and think about things and not take risks too. So yeah.
Yeah.
The fart stream is iconic.
Oh God, that's funny.
Oh, Sophie, I'm so sorry. I used to suffer migraines for
Me
years and
too.
years, and I really hope that you can lay down in a dark room and eventually it'll go away.
Yeah. I was a weekly migraine sufferer, sometimes a couple times a week, and
Same.
it was brutal. And I finally talked to my doctor about it. And
Mm,
like, I am not a doctor, so,
yes.
but I was prescribed to take 20 milligrams of amitriptyline every
Mm-hmm.
day, and it changed my life.
Oh,
And I
awful.
I started that in April of
Mm.
2023, and I have not had a migraine since then.
Oh my God. You've been migraine free since April 2023?
Yeah, it's coming up on 2 years.
Oh, I've been migraine free since August of 2023.
That's good.
Oh, so exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, they started when I was about 18, 19, and I suffered with them until then. Like you said, sometimes twice a week.
Yeah.
Sometimes, thankfully, they wouldn't, be like a couple times a month, but there was some periods of my life where they
Yep.
just constantly happened. It was
Yep.
awful.
I understand. Yeah. And
Well,
now that I am on this medication and it like, I just am so grateful now because I remember what life used to be like. Ugh.
yeah, well, the bad part about migraines, I used to get so pissed off because it's the wasted time. Like
Yes.
you
Oh,
spend so much,
yeah. You're
yeah, like
laid
you,
up.
yeah, and you're not sick. Like it's not like you have an excuse. You just have a migraine, and I ended up getting mad. Like, I don't have a virus. I just have this stupid migraine disorder that robs me of my life, like robs me of time, and I have to lay down for for hours,
Yes.
missing work, missing fun things because I have a
Life.
migraine.
Yeah.
Right. So annoying.
Mhm. Oh yeah, some people do get sleepy when they take amitriptyline. I don't,
Yeah, I
but
used to take Imitrex way back in the day. I don't know what the drug, that's the brand. I don't know what the drug
right.
is. But that also, I used to have to go to sleep after taking it. And I ended up stopping because in my mind, if I didn't medicate my migraine, I would also have to just go to bed in a dark room for hours. And when I took Imitrex, it took the edge off the pain, but I'd also have to go in a dark room for hours and sleep. So to me, it was no different, really.
Mhm.
So why pay for the prescription and worry about taking it if the for all intents and purposes it was the same. It wasn't like I took it and I could function. I still had to go lay down. So
Oh, that's unfortunate.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
okay. I don't get them anymore, thankfully.
yeah, big time. Big time. We've been at this for
Mm.
2 hours.
Oh my gosh, I
I
know.
feel like that flew by.
It did. It did.
I really didn't. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Flew by for me.
Well, you can go have lunch.
I'm probably going to soon, but Ice Goddess wants to know why I don't get migraines anymore.
Oh, again, I'm not a doctor and this just worked for me. I'm not like
Yeah,
promoting anything, but I quit sugar and carbohydrates.
I've heard that from
And
other people too. That really helped.
yeah, I think that looking back, I had metabolic disorder. And so I did that. I quit processed food, carbohydrates, and sugar uh, early 2023, like springtime. And
Mm.
by August, my migraines had tapered down to nothing and I never got them again. And I lost 100 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, 90 something pounds with no
Good.
effort.
Damn.
And I cured my joint pain and everything. I think I had like metabolic shit going on, like I think I had pre-diabetes and stuff like
Right.
that. Um, that stuff just doesn't agree with me. I'm not saying that anybody should do that or whatever. It's just it's what worked for me. But I do say like if you want to quit, like processed food is like American processed food is real insidious with some of the stuff they put in it. So,
Mhm.
if you want to feel better, you don't have to cut out carbs and stuff like that. But I would definitely say like maybe give the processed food a break and see how you feel.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, people do like elimination diets all the time to try to figure out what the
Mm,
heck it is that is
yeah.
fucking them up.
Yeah. I don't know what I think I just got scared with all the symptoms I was having finally and I just decided to see what it did and it ended up working really well. So,
Yeah. Good.
yeah, yeah, definitely no joke. I was starting to get like tingles in my feet and my
Oh, wow.
hands. Yeah. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. And I had acne, like a lot of acne, adult acne. I don't have any of that anymore. It's crazy. Like,
Yeah. I know somebody who used to have like severe adult acne.
yeah,
Like, what's the word when they're like cystic acne?
cystic. Yep.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and she changed her diet
Yep.
and it cleared up so quick.
Yeah.
It's
It's
interesting how that kind of stuff
amazing.
can just affect people because like
Yeah.
I'm very grateful I've never really had any skin issues,
Mm.
but yeah, for some people,
Well, I was diagnosed with PCOS in my early 20s,
ah,
but I think there's a big misconception about it in that they think it's a gynecological disorder, so they'll give you birth control pills for it, right?
yeah,
But I discovered that it's more of a metabolic thing. Like you get insulin resistance and you're more prone to like the pre-diabetes and stuff just fucks you up,
mhm,
so you kind of have to rein it in a bit and I'm not saying I never ever eat like processed anything ever again. I'm
Right.
not perfect, but like the vast majority of the time I just don't anymore. Splurge every now and then, but it's like a world of difference. Whereas before I was just on the standard, like what everybody else had, you know, and didn't really think about too much about it.
Yeah.
And I had all those symptoms and the piece. Oh, and my periods got regular again too.
That's good.
Yeah.
I like so many people. I am lactose intolerant.
Oh, yep.
Well,
Mhm.
actually, no. I just that's the easiest way to describe it. I'm not lactose intolerant, but like dairy, particularly cheese, fucks me up.
Mm. Oh no. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm one of those people where I'm like, well, maybe this time it'll be fine.
I spent so many years like eating like candy and stuff and thinking,
Yep.
even though like I knew too that it was not good for me, but like I didn't, damn it, I didn't want to stop. I was like,
Yeah,
damn
well,
it.
that's how I am when it's like, oh, I want like some cheesy pizza or something, and I'm like, maybe this time it'll be okay. And then, of course, it's not. And then the next time, I'm like,
Oh,
okay, well, maybe this time,
maybe this time this pint of ice cream will be good.
maybe this time, and then it never is. And then I never, ever, ever learn my lesson. And
Mm-mm.
then I'm like, okay, well, maybe this time.
Yeah, I only learned my lesson when the bad parts outweighed anything and I started to get scared because I'm past 40, right? I'm over 40, so I was starting to be like, well, I don't want to get full-blown diabetes and be disabled
Yeah, I
in
understand.
10 years, so I got to do something.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm starting to get in that boat too. I'm
Mm,
36, and I today was my second day at the gym, day 2 of
yeah.
my Move More journey, so that's good.
My move more journey. Yes.
Yeah, eh, good
Yep.
times.
Yeah.
Everyone starts somewhere, and yeah, and it's not again, it's not like a vanity thing or a beauty thing or whatever. It's just like I'm 36. Like if I don't
No.
start taking better care of myself now, then you
Right,
know.
and it's, you know, when I mentioned the loss of weight, it wasn't like something I mean, yeah, I was overweight, but it wasn't like I was trying to get as skinny as possible because I needed to be skinny,
Oh
blah blah
yeah, of
blah.
course.
It just happened.
Yeah,
It just happened, and I've been stable, you know, stable where I'm at now for like a year. So, yeah,
yeah,
but it wasn't like, oh my God, I have to meet the aesthetic and be like beautiful and skinny and all. No, none of
yeah.
that stuff.
For sure. With me, like I've been having a lot of issues lately where I have just been so fucking tired all the time, which is
Yeah,
like weird. And so like I did go to my doctor and I did like all the blood tests and I did a sleep study and I did this and that and
I
the other.
remember the sleep study. Yeah.
And like my blood work all came back like totally normal. My sleep study, I had like mild but not concerning sleep apnea.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, well, I don't know. And then my doctor was like, well, would you be interested in seeing like our healthy lifestyle type person or whatever? I don't know what the heck her job title is, but you know.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I was like, yeah, like I mean, it's not gonna hurt.
Mhm.
So I did, and yeah, now it was very cool. I got she can write prescriptions for the gym membership.
Oh, that's huh. I've never
So
heard of that.
I know I hadn't either. And
What?
so I've got a free membership to my local, like, it's like it's got like a gym and the pool and the wave pool and the water slides and the track and like it's an ice rink, a curling rink, like it's one of those big like complexes.
Yeah.
It's got all of the above. And I was shocked when she's like, would you like me to write this prescription? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah, the only like the most we have is you can get a reimbursement from my insurance company if you have like a membership somewhere, they'll
Right.
like reimburse it like partially, but
Oh
writing an
yeah.
actual prescription is
Prescription.
that's
It's called the
different.
Prescription for Healthy Living.
It might be a Canadian thing.
Yeah.
I feel
Or
like
even just
America
a
could
beer
really
thing.
do.
I don't even know. But
I don't know.
yeah, so that's fun. So day 2. But yeah, okay. I'm going to make myself some lunch. I'm starving. I'm sorry.
Yes. No, it's fine. I figured you were hungry. You just swam for
Yes,
40 minutes.
I know. So thank you for joining me, Existential Gamer.
Thank you for having
Thanks for
me.
your wonderful insight.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you for letting me ramble.
Oh, I love it. This is the
I feel like I
Ramblings
interrupt
channel.
you all the time.
Oh, this is the channel for rambling.
Oh, that's true. Silly me.
Yes, and thank you to the wonderful people in the chat for being here. Love you all. You're the
Yeah.
best. I keep saying this and then I keep not doing it, but I am really, really trying to commit to Tuesdays streaming. So see you on Tuesday, hope.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, what is this? The first week of December tomorrow.
Can't believe it.
Thanks, y'all. In the
Yeah.
description box, there's a link to Existential Gamers channel. There's a link to
Yay.
the essay we read. There's a link to rain.org. And there's a link to my video on Is Gender a Cult? So check those out. And we'll see you on Tuesday. Knock on wood.
Yes.
Okay, bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.